Hello everyone, it's Incredimations here. Today, I'm going to create a Christmas animation, after Christmas Day. For this video, I'll be recording my process and explaining my thoughts over my process as the video goes on. Afterwards, I'll show you all what it looks like at the end. Alrighty everyone, let's get started. For this animation, I decided to use my character Leah. The idea I had is that she would be using her watering can to grow a small tree into a Christmas tree. I got a basic sketch of her in ToomBoom Harmony with a red outline. Then I added the Christmas tree with the green outline. Next, I added the 5 keyframes. The first one is Leah standing. The second keyframe I added was Leah leaning towards the plant to pour the water in. I also made her kick her leg up to show her silly personality. The third keyframe I had Leah go back, the fourth keyframe the tree becomes a Christmas tree, and the fifth keyframe Leah looks at it with excitement. For all 5 of these keyframes, I added arrows as guides to show the movement, whether it shows Leah going towards the tree or the tree itself growing. I find that these arrows are very helpful for capturing the movement of keyframes without actually showing the movement. The next thing I did was add some important additional frames to help emphasize Leah and the tree's bouncy movement. For the tree itself, I initially make it go down before it does its main action when it goes up. This helps to emphasize its bouncy, strong, powerful movement. And then with Leah, I made her go down before she went back up. This helps emphasize her excitement about the tree. Next, I added some additional frames between keyframe 1, which is the start, and keyframe 2 when she's pouring the water into the tree. I wanted to make her movement bouncy by making her go lower than her pose in keyframe 2. I further emphasized the bouncy movement with her hair, which also comes down afterwards. I continued working on more in-between frames for keyframes 2 and keyframe 3. I consistently maintained bouncy movement with Leah. I even had her overshoot backwards slightly for one of the frames to further emphasize her movement. This shows how dramatic Leah is, even in everyday tasks like watering a Christmas tree. Everybody does that. Next, I worked on the frames between keyframe 3 and keyframe 4. These frames have the tree in it. The tree starts out small, but grows instantly once Leah grows water on it. I really wanted to make sure that the water had like this instant effect, almost magical in a way, and I think it poofing up like that really sells it. And then finally, I worked on keyframe 4 and keyframe 5. Like I said earlier, I made Leah go down between these frames to help emphasize her excitement. And after that, I was done the basic sketch of the animation. The next thing I did after sketching the drawings for the animation was tracing the sketches with outlines. What I like doing in this stage is separating each part of the character into different layers. These include the right arm, the head, the torso, the hair, the legs, and the left arm. I do this because I think it's better for focus to animate one part of the character at a time rather than animating the whole character on a single layer. The first layer I decided to do was the head layer. Here, I wanted to add Leah's expression to her fun movement, like when she blinked just after the tree popped up, or when she smiled as she was watering the plants, or her excitement just after the tree popped up. The next layer I animated on was the hair layer. This was mostly just the overlapping action from the movement of Leah's head. Though I found that it was tricky keeping the outlines consistent. I found that the outline was a little bit shaky at times as I was drawing it on new layers. However, I figured that just copying and pasting the previous drawings and stretching and squashing it a little bit would help keep the movement very consistent. It turned out clean in the end. Afterwards, I animated the torso. I don't have too much to say about this that I haven't already said before, but there is one thing I added. I made her coat droop down a little bit as Leah goes down. This just shows that gravity exists. Next, I animated the legs. Again, this wasn't too different from the sketch layer that I had planned out before, but I did add an extra smear frame, and it's just really satisfying seeing that kick Leah does, just with the outline now. And the last thing I animated were both the front arm and the back arm. I noticed that some of my sketches didn't have the arms at a consistent size. I saw that they started out at a normal size, but at the end, the arms were a little bit shorter. So I made sure that they would stay the same size by copying and pasting the arms for each layer. Doing this made the arm movement believable. After I was done with Leah's outline, I moved on to cleaning up the line work for the Christmas tree. I used the cutter tool for the ornaments to make them more circular, and also the tree to cut out lines that were going through the ornaments. Another thing I added with the tree is just a little bit of an outline at the bottom of the stump. This will make it easier to color. Speaking of which, coloring the tree was the thing I did next. I experimented with a few different color styles. The first one I did was more minimalistic with lighter colors and only red and green. However, it felt like it was a little bit limiting. It felt like I could have used like darker colors in here. So I decided to use darker colors next. For this palette, I actually wanted the stump to be very dark. Like I wanted it to be way darker than the actual tree. However, it actually felt a little bit too dark, so in the end, I met a middle ground where the tree is fairly light overall, but has a slight bit of darker values with the trunk and the pot below. The next thing I did was color in Leah. I usually don't have too much to say about color since I mostly just color in the lines, it's like fill in the blanks, but there is one big tip I have for hair that's on a separate layer from the head. If the hair is behind the head but still attached to it, add a brown outline on the hair on the head layer just in front, and then animate the back hair normally. That way, it would appear to be attached since the front layer has the same color as the back layer that leads into it. Next up, I did the background. I was actually initially not going to do a background, but it felt incomplete without it, so I decided to add it in. I wanted both the character and the tree to stick out compared to the background, so I went for a very minimalistic style for the colors and only picked light red colors. I wanted to go simple for the furniture as well. After I colored it in, it felt like I was done. Except I wasn't. After looking at my animation one more time, I felt like it would actually be good to add some sparkles to the tree. It would give Leah a stronger reason to be amazed by the tree, rather than it just appearing. So I added the sparkles and it ended up making it look a lot better. I also made the background a little bit darker and a little bit more colorful. Then it was truly done. And there we go, the Christmas animation is complete. It was wonderful animating this. I really enjoyed having the plant immediately growing into a Christmas tree. It's funny how things in animation can happen so fast compared to the real world. Let me know if you guys have any ideas for future videos. I always enjoy making animation challenges. I hope you all have a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next video.